Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clay, and I am the Bucks believer. Last season, reigning Defensive Player of the Year Giannis Antetokounmpo received constant criticism from the media for not defending Jimmy Butler in the Milwaukee Bucks' second-round series against the Miami Heat. In that series, Jimmy Butler led the Heat to victory in just 5 games, as he put up games in which he scored 30 points and 40 points respectively. Butler's scoring was a huge reason why Miami was able to come out on top in that series, and for that reason, a lot of people were very nervous when the Bucks drew the Heat as their matchup in the first round of this year's playoffs. However, this year, the series was a completely different story. Giannis took on the matchup defending Butler nearly 50% of the time, and he took that matchup on personally. Giannis was clearly trying to defend Butler, and he did an excellent job of doing so. The Greek Freak used his length and strength to dissuade Butler from getting to the basket, and Giannis also was able to overcome something that has troubled him throughout his career whenever he attempts to guard on-ball players. That thing would be ball screens. Giannis has always had a hard time taking on matchups against opposing dominant on-ball players because he really struggles to get around screens. That's the one area of his defensive game where he is not yet playing at an all-NBA level. However, in this series, Giannis was easily able to dart around those screens because instead of being forced to go over them, Giannis was able to take advantage of Butler's poor perimeter shooting, and he was able to go under those screens. That allowed Giannis to keep Butler in front of him at all times, and because Butler was unable to make Giannis pay for going under those screens by constantly bricking jump shots, Giannis was able to do a really effective job of stopping Butler throughout this series. Butler's buckets against Giannis were few and far between, and the Greek Freak's defense was a large reason why Butler was limited to just 14.5 points per game while shooting 30% from the field and 27% from the three-point line in this series. Those are really poor efficiency numbers, and considering that Butler was held under 15 points per game, a whopping 7 points per game less than he averaged in the regular season, is a great indicator of the impact Antetokounmpo was able to have on Butler on the defensive end of the court. Giannis did a great job of defending Jimmy and deserves a ton of credit for what he did on the Heat's All-Star. However, he was far from the only reason why Butler struggled in this series. Giannis was simply the primary line of defense. The Bucks as a whole did an excellent job of providing help on Butler. Brook Lopez in particular made life very difficult for the Heat's star player. Lopez physically contested every shot that Butler took in the lane. Every time Jimmy was able to get around the guy that was defending on the perimeter, Lopez was always there waiting for him in the paint, and Lopez made life incredibly difficult on Butler. He held Jimmy to just 42.9% shooting at the rim throughout this series. That is a steep decline from the 72.2% mark that Butler posted in the lane during the regular season. This is a great indicator of the level of defense that Lopez was playing as a rim protector, and it shows just how influential he was on Butler whenever Jimmy was attacking the basket. Lopez also committed multiple hard fouls on Butler that demonstrated to Jimmy that nothing would come easy for him in this series. Aside from Giannis' primary on-ball defense and Lopez's incredible rim protection, multiple other players did a great job of defending Butler one-on-one. This was especially true whenever Antetokounmpo was out of the game and someone else had to step up as the primary defender on Butler. Jrue Holiday and PJ Tucker both took their turns defending Jimmy throughout this series. Jrue did a great job of making life uncomfortable for Jimmy, forcing Butler into multiple turnovers, and Tucker in particular did an excellent job of preventing Butler from being able to score. Whenever Tucker received the matchup, the Heat inexplicably looked at it as a mismatch. They consistently tried to give Butler chances to isolate against PJ Tucker. This almost always failed, as Tucker used his lateral quickness to keep Butler in front of him and his upper body strength to prevent Butler from pushing him around. In Game 1, the closest game of this series, Jimmy Butler shot 0 for 6 whenever he was defended by PJ Tucker. That shows just how great of a job PJ did of both contesting Jimmy's jump shots and preventing him from getting easier shots closer to the basket. In that same game, Game 1, Dante DiVincenzo came up with the biggest stop of the series for the Bucks while defending Butler. with just 35 seconds remaining in overtime, and the Bucks ahead by only 3 points. DiVincenzo got switched on to Butler. Butler saw this mismatch and immediately called for the ball. When he received the ball, he tried to post up against the smaller Bucks guard, but Dante held up strong and forced Jimmy to give the ball up. He kicked it out to the perimeter to Duncan Robinson, who took a dribble and then returned the ball back to Butler for another attempt at capitalizing on the mismatch against DiVincenzo. When Butler got the ball back, Dante forced him to take a contested fadeaway jumper, which Butler ended up airballing. Dante's clutch play on the defensive end of the court towards the end of Game 1 allowed the Bucks to keep their lead, and although it was eventually tied up, Milwaukee came away with a win, in large part due to the defense they played on Butler, who was held to 17 points on a very inefficient 4-for-22 shooting in that Game 1. Overall, the Bucks did a fantastic job of defending Jimmy Butler throughout this series. Giannis in particular did a great job of defending Butler and deserves a lot of credit, but stopping Jimmy was a team effort, and that outstanding effort was a large reason why the Bucks were able to sweep the Miami Heat and will move on to face either the Boston Celtics or the Brooklyn Nets in the second round of this year's playoffs. Thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, especially if you are a fellow Bucks believer. This is the place for you. I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover, so that's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.